A rather popular video on YouTube is Robert Florczak's commentary for Prager University titled, "Why is Modern Art So Bad?" As of this writing, it's received 1,311,187 views and 37,915 thumbs up, mine among them. Mr. Florczak offers a sober, erudite defense of the classical standards of excellence in the visual arts, and I agree with him 100%. The modern art world is awash in pretentious, meaningless trash that does nothing to challenge the sensibilities or uplift the spirit. Another similarly popular video is Paul Joseph Watson's The Truth About Modern Art. The creation of art in all its forms should serve to inspire the onlooker. I can recall watching with joyful fascination the creation of a portrait by a caricature artist in the underground Atlanta shopping center. That same fascination has found me when I've watched master painters create works of transcendent beauty, and I am privileged to observe the miraculous process by which strokes and blots on a canvas coalesce into gorgeous images. Sculptors bring form to the harsh randomness of stone, and even Harlan Ellison, a writer of the written word, used to go so far as to sit in bookstore windows and write his short stories, a feat perhaps less distinguished in the age of laptop computers, but no less captivating when done by a master. This is a crucial element of art. At some point, there is a performance in its creation, and there is a unique dimension of appreciation to be gleaned by those who are fortunate enough to see art from the vantage of its production cycle. It is for this reason that I am a fan of performance art, despite being disgusted by the same meaningless trash that fills the hall of the modern art establishment and so disgusts Mr. Florczak and Mr. Watson. When we hear the term performance art, we are likely and justifiably inclined to imagine random absurd behavior being watched at a distance from a group of confused onlookers. The caterwauling shrieks of Yoko Ono come to mind. But performance art has, for far too long, been thought of as inherently empty. It is time to correct this notion. Performance art can have its own standards of romantic merit, provided its creators understand the crucial element of performance art, the way in which it incorporates the viewer. There is art intended for performance, such as a stage play or dance, which is not performance art. In these cases, the art is complete in and of itself and is being performed for an audience who watches from behind the fourth wall, essentially detached from it. In performance art, however, the audience themselves is not a passive observer. They are the crucial linchpin of the work. This is the core principle of romantic performance art. It must incorporate the audience as a primary element of the work. No performance artist is more aware of this than Marina Abramovic, the woman often referred to as the grandmother of performance art. In 1974, she performed a landmark piece wherein she entered a room full of spectators and stood motionless before a table full of objects that included everything from a rose to a knife to a gun with a bullet. The onlookers were informed that they were invited to do anything they wanted to her, and she would take full responsibility for everything that happened, including her own death. Over the course of 6 hours, she endured the mass hysteria of crowds. Her clothes were ripped, her body was cut, the gun was loaded and held against her head. She was placed on the table and tormented in various ways, and a whole host of other violations. At the end of 6 hours, Abramovic, largely nude and covered in blood, began to walk forward towards the crowd. All those who had poked and prodded her for hours ran away in panic, terrified of being approached by the person they had just been treating as a detached object. The performance has since become the stuff of legend. In this case, the audience witnessing Abramovic's performance was not the actual audience for the piece. They were what I like to refer to as the incorporated audience. The true audience is the people who will watch the video footage of the event, read about it in the papers, or hear about it on the news. We, the external onlookers to the spectacle, are given a vantage that the incorporated audience is not. We are the ones who see the actual completed piece. Abramovic has maintained this crucial element throughout her career, which was covered in depth in the Peabody Award-winning documentary The Artist is Present, which I recommend as it ranks high on my list of all-time favorite documentaries. The title of the film is also the title of Abramovic's 2010 magnum opus performance. The Museum of Modern Art was showcasing a career retrospective of Abramovic's work with actors hired to portray many of her previous performance pieces. The artist herself, however, launched a piece that has become legendary in the art world. She appeared in a large open space, sitting motionless in a chair for 8 hours a day. Onlookers, of which there were thousands, were invited to sit one at a time in a chair across from Abramovic and, remaining silent and motionless, look into her eyes. This might seem shallow and meaningless, but as the film documents, it was anything but. The audience members that ventured to sit before her were given to deeply emotional responses, as were the onlookers. The piece forces us to stop and approach a basic facet of human interaction in a slightly different manner. My interpretation is that there are elements of human interaction that we tend to gloss over for fear that they will reveal a tenderness and a vulnerability we'd rather not acknowledge. As Louis Armstrong observed, I see friends shaking hands, saying, "How do you do?" They're really saying, "I love you." The artist as present forces us to pause and stare straight into the heart of those feelings, and having realized their depth and how much we have struggled to suppress them, we cannot walk away from our newfound awareness unchanged. While it might seem tempting to lump the artist as present in with the dismissible non-art decried by Messrs. Florczak and Watson, I would argue that it is impossible to say that something that incurs such a passionate, heartfelt response from the audience is not truly a work of art. Marina Abramovic's work may seem at times random, masochistic, and even deeply disturbing, but it is not pointlessly belligerent and aimlessly vulgar like Andre Serrano's infamous Piss Christ, or an insult to the viewer's intelligence like John Cage's 4 minutes 33 seconds. Instead, it proceeds from a genuinely conceptual meaning and imparts that meaning to the audience, and thus deserves a place alongside the great classics of the art world. It is important that we establish a vocabulary for the objective standards by which we judge performance art. Modernity is inevitable, and as such, the best means by which to exorcise the cretins that pollute the modern art world is not to abandon them for a wholesale return to classical styles, but rather to establish objective standards of quality within modern art that may separate genuine innovation from pretentious hack work. Such standards should be, in my opinion, referred to as the Abramovic principles. All of that said, also, for the love of God, please check out the works of Robert Florczak. He is a master of the painted canvas whose work truly exalts human grandeur in all its forms. If you enjoyed this commentary, please help me continue to bring you more content by making a donation to patreon.com/JordanOwen42. Your contribution will help me turn this channel into a hub of libertarian pop culture discussion and current events commentary. Thank you for listening, and as always, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already.